Coach Enos, he took film with him on all the film from that we had on Coastal Carolina with him over the weekend, so I know he's been on it already, but did just get back. We'll return him, and also kind of a similar situation. Kendrick Jackson will be back with us. Saw him this morning in the weight room. He returned late last night and jumps in full swing with us as we move forward. So a couple things on the injury update before we go into some of the MVPs from last week. Austin Allen has continued to progress. He, I'm sure you guys all saw him on Saturday, throw it around. He's still on kind of a limited number of reps. They want to see him throw the ball and how he recovers. So he'll definitely practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What he does on Tuesday will affect what he does on Wednesday and vice versa. We'll see how the week unfolds as we go that forward. Dre Coley was probably right on the cusp. He actually missed 2 games ago, got back out there in the practice field Wednesday, was moving around good, and then re-aggravated it a little bit during practice, wasn't able to go, tried to go, couldn't go. So we had him in there. Brito Tutt, who didn't make the trip with us, just basically aggravated an old knee injury, should be back with us tomorrow, full go. His swelling's down, shouldn't be an issue. And then Chase Hayden, just a continued update with him. He's doing great in his rehab, continue to come along, and outside chance, obviously, in postseason play if that opportunity arises. And then also just an update on Frank. I just saw him, Pat and I just saw him wheel out of my office. He's actually having surgery Wednesday, and should be back on Friday. So everybody give him their thoughts and prayers, and everything seems to be continue to be positive in that regards as we go forward. So as is the fashion, we usually give our guys MVP and special recognition, helmet stickers and whatnot with wins. So the coaches decided on defensive honorable mention. We gave quite a few guys that showed up. Obviously, Santos Ramirez, Bijan Jackson played a very, very good game. Briston Guidry was really, really active, did a lot of good stuff. And K. Rich, those guys all got honorable mention, but the MVP went to Randy Ramsey and played his most complete game since he's been here. Really very active, did a lot of good things in the second half especially, and then the offensive scout team player going against him was Blake Kern. Offensive honorable mention, Deion Stewart was awesome. Just competitive, confident, even getting a little chippy with some of the guys on the other. I just thought he really grew in the last several weeks as a football player. Up front, Rodgers and Froholt, I give a lot of credit to Zach Rodgers, who I know he and Frank do a lot together, and took over that role last week as a center and knew it and ran with it. Was great with communication, played really hard. And it was very, very, very fun to watch him play, especially the film on Sunday. Yelda for Holt, played his tail off, was very physical, very, very, he is getting the understanding of what we want and how to play a 4-quarter football game. And it just really took off and played extremely well. Took a great leadership role as well. In addition to that, our 2 tailbacks, Devwah Whaley and David Williams, gave them honorable mention, but we did give the MVP to T.J. Hammonds. Was very explosive, dynamic, very exciting to watch. Was really healthy for the first time all year, and in his preparation and everything else. So excited where he can continue to grow. And then our scout team, defensive scout team player was Terrell Collins. Special teams honorable mention went to Reed Miller and Bob Decker, 2 guys of the snapper and the holder for the operation to have the game-winning field goal. And then also honorable mention to Gary Cross, who was awesome for me on kickoff return as an off returner, did a lot of really good things. But our MVP went to 2 guys glaring, actually 5 guys total, but the easiest was Connor Limpert, the way he stroked the ball there, not just once, twice, 3, 4 times. Davion Warren for his efforts in the KOR, and then 3 coverage guys. They had the #1 kickoff return unit in the league, and I believe #3 in the country average-wise, and we held them inside the 5, I believe, once, inside the 15, inside the 25 several times. And these 3 guys, Michael Petway, Ryder Lucas, and Grant Morgan were outstanding. Our special team scout team player is Byron Keaton. So also special recognition to Cole, get freshman SEC player of the week, was very well deserved. Obviously a game that he knows he did some things very, very well, some things we got to improve upon. And then Davion Warren got special teams SEC player of the week. So excited about his growth, and then again, just a very exciting player, and a lot of guys doing some good things around him. So what we did yesterday is put that game to bed. Talked about the corrections we needed to make. There was a lot of positives, but obviously a lot of things we got to do better, especially during that first 19-minute stretch defensively. really kind of a tale of two cities. Offensively, I did like the way we responded to their first score, went down the field. Obviously, it was a huge thing for us, but then to guys to just rebound and play the way they did after that happened, and to finish it out the way that they did and never stop playing, never stopped the faith and the belief, and to get that win was a huge one for us. So seeing those kind of plays to catapult not only a game but a season, and really excited about the preparation. Told them the way they got to where they were on Saturday at the end of the game was because of their preparation last week. We really challenged them to do things different in their preparation during the course of the week, individually, collectively, and us as coaches as well. I really stressed to the coaches to emphasize second half performance. I mean, every day, every way, we really brought it up, and obviously paid dividends. So now we'll move on to Coastal Carolina. Obviously a team that hasn't had a lot of victories, but it played a lot of really close games. A team that's had success in the past, have a variety of different players, use multiple quarterbacks, running backs, a variety of a lot of different stuff offensively. Defensively, they're a 4-3 scheme, bring a lot of pressures, bring a lot of blitzes that we have to be on our toes and be able to execute. So the task at hand is a challenge in front of us, and that's where we're at. We're not going to talk about anything but what's in front of us this Saturday. Yeah, during the recruiting process, he was a guy that was really, in my opinion, very, very dynamic with the ball in his hands. They used him as a quarterback, wide receiver. They used him in a variety of different plays. He always was reminding me every day how well he could throw the football. Whenever we're having a free period, he always tends to find his way towards me and just stands there and throws the ball because he does have a pretty good arm. But he's explosive. He's so confident. The kid, the swagger that man has going back there. And, KOR now, those are 10 guys running down the field to hit you. You know what I mean? Full speed, and to have the confidence he has. I think the biggest one was we had a field return called, and that ball was buried way down in the right corner. For him to get over there and field it and then bring it all the way back out, and it was the one where he kind of stepped out of bounds, lost his awareness. But again, the contagious effect of having those other 10 guys on the field with him is pretty cool.
What's the ideal scenario for Austin? Maybe getting ready for the last two conference games, or do you have a gut that you'd like to get him in this game?
Tom, if I had to answer it, I mean, ideally, you'd love to have him play all the way through the season. So, I mean, ideally, I think to get him back as soon as possible. But again, I don't think you want to rush him. Austin has an opportunity possibly of, playing football beyond here, and I don't want to put him on the field if he's at risk. That's the biggest thing I kept pressing. It's not can he execute the job, it's to make sure he can, protect himself and put himself in a position that he doesn't harm himself further. He's completely healthy. It's been fun to watch him and Cole. I had a game on late last night, I guess it was, and saw the recording of it, and I just saw the last 5 minutes of the game, and to see the reaction and the embrace. There was a point where Cole and Austin were hugging and smiling and sharing information, and it's been fun to watch that thing grow.
Do you see when Austin does come, do you foresee playing both of them, or?
Obviously they've both done some good things, but I think, as is the case always, I think you got to have a number one quarterback, and the kids need to know who it is during the course of the week. The good news is now we've had two guys that have had success, but again, I don't think Austin is at a point where right now we can say he's the number one quarterback to prepare all week to get to Saturday, because I know he's limited Tuesday and Wednesday right now. So maybe next week, yes, but right now it's not that way.
What about Randy Ramsey's play on Saturday?
Yeah. Yeah, I think first he's what we've known all along. He's very long. He's very athletic. He's got great burst. He can do some things better than other guys at that position, just athletically. And when he's playing extremely hard, he's a very big athlete that can run, and that's always a big bonus.
So you'd anticipate Paul getting the majority of first team reps this week?
Yes.
The third down conversion you guys have.
Go ahead.
The third down conversion you guys have. Can you speak to? I mean, it was a really big number last week.
Yeah.
Big plays on it.
Well, again, at one of our fourth edge, we kind of got back to the basics, and our first three things are all just physical things, right? Physical and mental, the way we approach it. But our fourth edge, we talk about continuously, is being successful in critical areas. And first down is critical, but third down is even more so, because it's you deciding whether or not to be on the field. I think first Dan in the game plan, but also our players believed in it. But there are some great efforts to find the sticks. I think if you looked at the Auburn game in particular, and sometime in the Alabama game, our guys were maybe a yard short, maybe on a route or maybe on a run, and there's a couple of them that stand out in my mind. Jonathan Nance had been stopped a couple times short of the sticks, on third down plays, and he was beyond the sticks every time except for the one towards but that was 2 minute, which is a little bit different scenario. There was Austin Cantrell on the little shovel play, right? I mean, he was hit several times before he crossed that first down marker. He knew where he needed to go. I thought that was really, really positive thing. Again, I go back to one of the guiding principles I've always believed in is getting those five. If there's ever a unit that needs to play together, I understand QBs and wideouts and running backs with fullbacks and linebackers with D linemen, but the most cohesive unit on the field has to be those five linemen to understand the call from the huddle, but then at the line of scrimmage, what's going to be said, how they're going to say it, how they're going to block it. I thought those five guys. Somebody asked a question last week, and I go back and I use this phrase all the time. All right, when you lose a great player, when you lose someone of the caliber that Frank is, you're never going to replace them. Even I've always said that when I think about when J.J. Watt was left us, and that next year, everybody, how do you replace J? Well, you don't. You have a number of guys replace the value and the numbers he produced. And the same thing when Frank, we don't have any lineman that can play the level that Frank can play at. But hopefully the five guys together in his absence could talk better, communicate better, prepare a little bit better than they have to become better than they've ever been, and that's what happened.
With Colin Jones' third start, how do you think he's progressed?
Again, he's progressed. There's no doubt in my mind. Case in point, yesterday during a team meeting, talked about the positives that he made in front of everybody, and I made reference, Pat had given me a stat that he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the SEC, if not the most efficient quarterback in the SEC in the fourth quarter. And in the red zone, he was something of, what would you remember, something of 5 touchdowns, and the number of completions and attempts, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he's been exceptional in the red zone. And I read that stat out, all right, and let that kind of pause for a moment. Everybody's probably saying, oh, coach is giving, Cole a lot of credit. And then I came back to him strong in corrections. When he has the ball in his hands, he has all of us in his hands. It's not just the football. It's not just him. It's not just the offense. He has all of us in his hands. And from game 1 to game 2, there was a little bit of improvement. There's times where he had 2 hands on the ball, but on the case in point where we lost the ball late on that, Charlie Brown fumble scenario, where the ball was getting kicked around, he let the ball go with one hand, and the ball came out. You cannot do that. That is at first. It was in addition to that, he had the running back open in the flat for a 4-yard gain. That if our running back makes a guy miss, he might turn it into 10. Well, he wants to hit the 15-yard route. That ain't the deal. All right, first down, make the play, move the chains, and we were emphatic with him, and he'll get it, and that's when he'll make real progress.
Greg said that one play sometimes can change a game.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the same about one win and kind of get the ball rolling?
Absolutely. I mean, it just they all tie together. That's kind of what I was making reference to. Is it just begins with one thing. One thing begins a chain reaction, and guys played harder, guys played longer, guys played better. Guys played with confidence. I'm going to go even to, K. Rich. There's a lot of times where a ball's on the ground, case in point, the one I just made, where guys get excited, they get a little bit and they kick the ball while they're trying. He scooped down, picked it up with 2 hands, and escorted it in the end zone. Thought that was a big one. I thought the special plays that some guys made, Jay Nance caught a ball way over his head. The pick Josh Liddell made was behind him and back. He didn't just knock it down. He made the catch and advanced it. Bijan Jackson's out in front of him, the largest fullback I've ever seen, leading the way up to the 20-yard line. Just guys were. Grant Morgan turned around and blocked a linebacker. I mean, it was just it was a high ball because Scuda was running underneath that receiver, which made the ball get thrown high, which put the ball in Josh's hands. There was just. I asked our coaches on Sunday, don't just point out the big play. Why did the big play happen? All right, he had a rush up a face. Maybe he had a defender underneath that made a high ball throw. The screenplay that was really nice. Yelder for Hope sent a guy into next week, with a nice lead block. And to be quite honest, in a negative situation, Yelder probably had the most physical tackle of the entire season so far when he laid that guy out over on the far sideline. So. I thought T.J. Hammonds, he's a guy that came in, was very electric with the ball in his hands, and now that's continued growth for him. If he wants to play more, he needs to, get the whole playbook, and that stuff all feeds to the other, and one win can catapult it hopefully to another one this Saturday.
You know, in South Carolina, they're obviously making a transition.
Mhm.
About 7 in a row. What are you seeing from them? They got better.
Yeah, like I said, offensively, they do a lot of different things, play several quarterbacks. I don't know if it was all been injury related, but I believe we've had 5 quarterbacks get stats. A couple different running backs. They run some spread aspects, some option looks, some conventional football, read zones. So a little bit of everything. And then defensively, like I said, they are very pressure-oriented. It's a 4-3 scheme, but they bring a lot of people down in the box and bring a lot of pressure. So we got our work cut out for us all week and be good preparation for us. And we're going to take advantage of Tuesday to get to Wednesday and so forth. I don't want our guys going anywhere but Tuesday, and we'll just work through the week.
Close enough to Jack Wayne to maybe have reached out to him, or what do you think of that whole situation?
Yeah, again, I don't really comment on things that are not a part. I've been Mac and I have, since he came in the league, been awesome. But I know there was that signing day deal that probably got blown out a little bit out of proportion. We kind of had a little coming to Jesus when we saw each other then and talked about it, and has been a guy that when he hired Randy, he called me, and stuff. So we've always had conversations about some guys personnel-wise, and then just things that have come up, and just wish him and his family the best. And obviously Florida, whatever they're doing. But I'll reach out to him. I standard reach out to anybody that's in the profession that I'm connected with, and just give my best and their thoughts.
Randy obviously worked for you.
Mhm.
He's been a head coach.
Yeah. Randy and I I was a long time ago, he was a linebacker coach in Miami when I was recruiting South Florida, ran into him all the time. And then when I was at Wisconsin, we played competitively against each other in a bowl game. Was the first time I was extended it around him, and then we actually share the common agent. Neil Cornish is his agent as well as mine, so we have that common link. But I think the world of Randy and what he's all about, and that's never going to be an easy situation to pop into. So whatever they're doing there, I'm sure he'll handle it well.
The big plays on defense, are there any common threads on what's happening? There was a bunch in the last game.
Yeah, I think early on, obviously, there was a run that happened the first play of the game that, that's the second or third time that early in the game we had a big run, and we got to look at what we're doing. And don't want to say anything from a strategic standpoint, but we definitely got to make some adjustments, corrections there. And then, they had an idea to go in for the deep fades, whether you want to call them back shoulder throws, whatever it was. But I think Cam and Andre both felt that they could have played a lot better with technique at the line of scrimmage. It's going to help them down the field, and we can coach them better, and everybody else can hopefully have better results. But to give them credit, I thought that quarterback came in and for his first start did some things really, really well. They got talented. That's a good football team. I mean, it's I know the record doesn't want to go, and I'll be on calls Ole Miss good, but they won a lot of games here recently, So I know they got good players, and they took advantage of it. It really isn't. 2 weeks ago, I purposely took all, as a head coach, I try to hit as many guys as I can, but I wanted to make sure I made contact after the Alabama game with every committed kid to us. And often would ask their parents to get on the phone with them, or we'd make a joint call together. We go after kids with great high character and demeanor, and that was one of probably the more enjoyable parts. And then I tell you what, after the game, you're going to hear from a lot of people, right? But just the amount of responses from our current commits parents, our current player roster and their parents, former players, not only ones that I played for, but the ones that played before me. Even going into last week, I come up to the office one day and Coach Hatfield's standing there. He gives me some things to read. Just he's so spiritually driven, and then gave me some great stuff. I get when CC hits me up. It was a couple of weeks ago. Because I'll get an occasional prank call, right? And I'm trying to screen him out a little bit. She said, Coach Richardson's on the phone, and I'm like, Coach Richardson, come on. And I mean, I've known Coach a couple of times, and he was just awesome. Gave me a couple good words and some things to go with. Mike Anderson always reaches out. Coach Van Horn, track coaches, baseball coaches, softball coaches, golf coaches. It's fun to know what support is and to be able to witness it and recruit the same way.